It is 9:30. We will call the November meeting of the Wood County Board of Supervisors to order. I see that the roll has been taken, and I would ask Supervisor Hokamp to please come forward for the invocation. I'd ask the body to rise and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With Thursday being Veterans Day, I've selected a prayer for veterans written by Joanna Fuchs. Dear Lord, today we honor our veterans, worthy men and women who gave their best when they were called upon to serve and protect their country. We pray that you will bless them for their unselfish service in the continual struggle to preserve our freedoms, our safety, and our country's heritage for all of us. Bless them abundantly for the hardships they faced, for the sacrifices they made, for the many different contributions to America's victories over tyranny and oppression. We respect them, we thank them, we honor them, we are proud of them. We pray that you will watch over these special people and bless them with peace and happiness. Amen.
Please join the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Supervisor Hokamp. It's really appropriate this time of year as we're moving towards that special day. Minutes of the previous session. We'll move right into this packet here. I have a motion by Hamilton, a second by LaFontaine. Any discussion on those minutes? Any discussion? All in favor of approval, please signify by aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And that motion carries unanimously. We have no excusals today, no resignations. I do have a couple appointments, reappointments. Is there any objection to taking these together? All right, seeing none, to the Ethics Committee for a 3-year term, Laura Clark. And to the Veterans Service Commission for a 3-year term, Bev Galoni. I have a motion by Hamilton and a second by Hokamp. Any discussion? Again, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you. Do we have any public comment today? Any public comment? Moving right along. No acknowledgements and recognitions this month. We will have a special order of business on a jail project update. We'll do that when we get to that portion or at the end of the packet, one or the other. We'll move this along. So we're going to get right into the packet then. The referrals on page 6, resolution from Kenosha County requesting clarification and modifications to Chapter 980. I think that Mr. Clendenny's committee looked at that the other day. Did you not, Bill?
Yes.
Yep. Thank you. And then we get into the committee meetings. Beginning on page 7, the Operations Committee meeting of Tuesday, October 19th. Page 8 and 9 is the Operations Committee meeting of Tuesday, November 2nd. Supervisor Clendenny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 8, I would just like to refer to, because this was brought up at the budget meeting, saying there's no ARP funding whatsoever in that budget. And of course, election time is coming for all of us. But I would like to see where it says motion by Kimmel, seconded by Fire, to accept the recommendation set forth at the Finance Committee Department regards to CIP and ARP funding. I was at that meeting and I didn't question it. I saw nothing in the packet at that day's meeting in which it would indicate that there was something in there that the Finance Committee was going to be in somehow charge of $3.2 million of the ARPA funding and things like that. I attend a lot of meetings, especially at the Towns Association and even some at the League of Municipalities, and everybody's kind of waiting until January 1st to talk about ARP funding. And this could be an opportunity to talk about this and just exactly what I think people should be doing. And I would like to see our county, when they talk about this ARP funding, because we have the 3 leaders and they were elected very much accordingly to that. as Lance Brimmel from a town and first vice chair from city of Marshfield, and also from the village of Port Edwards. Those are the people that I would like to see in charge of these ARP funds, so people can go to them and they can have a meeting on this, because they're throughout the county, and just talk about how they would like the ARP funding spent. And then say once a month, just talk about that. I mean, I know we got to 2024 to do it, but I just think we're, that much money is given, $14 million to this. I think the whole county board should have a say in how that goes. I don't think it should be left up to any one committee, except the 3 leaders that I suggested here would be the chair, the first and second vice chair. And then you go to those people and distribute it from there. Because I see it's talked about here, and I wonder why they're talking about it. And what did you approve in that motion? What was there out there to say, oh, this document says that this is going to be there? Thank you.
I'll try to answer some of this. You're right, the county has $14+ million of ARPA funding available to us. Expenditure has to be designated by the end of 2024. Money has to be spent by the end of 2026. There was CIP requests, I'll call it one-time generational expense. HVAC systems, for instance, at an Edgewater or Norwood that had been kicked down the road year in, year out, where we spend tens of thousands of dollars oftentimes maintaining these or fixing them. So no ARPA funds, I'm trying to address this, but if I remember in the order you had, no ARPA funds were used in any way operationally or to develop any program. We took some of the CIP that was requested, instead of kicking it down the road and continuing to take on those costs, and said let's get those funded this year to the cost of about $1 million. Is that pretty close on that? And then to your other point, yeah, Bill, we will have those meetings, and I've had conversations with some of the other town chairs, mayors, and other people. We are going to set up some meetings to see how we might leverage this, because there's $14 million available to the county. There's $22 million roughly available county-wide. And we're going to see if we can leverage some of that in projects that might benefit all parties involved if we work in that direction. So we're waiting to some extent to see where the sideboards come off. There's some stuff we know is allowable. You know, safety, HVAC is an example of one of those. But your point's well taken. Ed, our Supervisor
Mr.
Wagner.
Chairman, one of the things that I want to emphasize is that in the CIP, we as a board set a limit of $3.5 million for expenditures in CIP for the next calendar year. As it came out, there was the requests that were in there was something like over $1 million. I believe $1.6 million over the 3.5. And the decision was made, well, how are we going to deal with that? And the question, as Lance pointed out, we knew only that some of the things that were in there could possibly be eligible for ARPA funding down the road. We didn't allocate the money. We just said, we're going to take this out of the CIP and put it over here by the side, and when we make our request for ARPA funding, or when we decide that we can consider these projects too, because we know they're eligible. So we haven't spent the money. We just took them out of the CIP to balance the CIP. That was it. So, and there was a great deal of discussion about it. I think you were in those meetings, and I think you saw and heard some of the discussion about what to do with it and why to work. Lance called these, in those meetings, he called these generational projects. These are projects that we will only face once in a generation. And for that reason, they thought, instead of putting them in and taking up the room in the CIP, to use them all, to set them aside and look down the road when we do decide, well, like he said, when some of the sideboards come off, so that we don't have to throw a dart at the board anymore to see what's funded and what isn't. Then we can make a decision whether or not we're going to fund these or other projects out of the ARPA funding. And it was discussed quite a bit. Thank you very much.
And just a little more explanation for the general public out there. Broadband expansion is one of the things we know this funding can be used for. But there's constantly money coming from the federal and state government to expand broadband. So one of the things we hate to do is use these ARPA funds for broadband expansion. If there's other monies designated specifically for that purpose, we'd like to keep that money in reserve. But Supervisor Clendenny made a good point. Those discussions will occur as we go forward, not just internally, but with those external partners as well. Supervisor Lightman.
I think Supervisor Clendenny makes a really good point. He's always forward-looking. In some of the discussions that we've had on water issues and what's called the six-county collaborative, it came to my attention that Washera, and I believe the other one is Marquette, have established ad hoc committees to do what Supervisor Clendenny is suggesting. So this is just another approach, and I commend him for looking forward to how we would accomplish that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Lightman. All right, that was page 8. Any other questions there? And 9. Okay, moving forward then, we have the monthly letter of comments from the county clerk. I think Trent, you might have covered the election process. Do you have anything else you want to mention while we're on your letters? Okay. Monthly letter of comments from Human Resources Department, beginning on 11, running through page 15, 11 through 15. From the treasurer on page 16. Employee wellness on 17. And then that brings us to the first resolution in the packet, which is establish the Wood County tax levy. Trent.
This will be Resolution 21-11-1 to establish the Wood County's tax levy for 2021, collectible in 2022. Fiscal note. This resolution establishes the tax levy for the 2022 Wood County budget. The total levy is $30,721,658. The components which are listed below.
Okay, looking for a motion. I have a motion by Fire. I have a second by Wagner. Is there any discussion on the resolution? Any discussion on the resolution? All right, please vote. That resolution passed 16-2. 16-2. Moving forward in the packet, page 19.
This will be Resolution 21-11-2, the adoption of the 2022 Wood County budget. Fiscal note. This resolution adopts the 2022 Wood County budget of $180,488,671, including the appropriations, revenues, and the use of fund balances proposed by the Operations Committee as outlined in the 2022 Wood County proposed budget document.
All right, I have a motion by Hamilton. I have a second by Fire. Any discussion on this resolution? Supervisor Clendenny.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I watched this in a lot of meetings, but I just, not scolding or anybody, but I think if people want to vote no on this, they should talk about it. Maybe I would see it their way, or maybe they would have a good point. So I would just say, if there's something wrong with this budget, please tell the rest of us, you know what I mean? Or if you're just voting no because you want to vote no. I'm sure my constituency, if I vote in yes or no, they want to know why I did that. So I would like to know, I just think it's good practice. Thank you.
Good comment. All right, any further discussion on the resolution? Any further discussion? Motion second, I'd ask you to please vote. That resolution passed 17-1. 17-1. Thank you. All right, and by the way, I know there were a lot of thank yous that occurred during the budget hearing. We had tremendous cooperation by our department heads when we started this process. I can tell you this, from where we went 20 plus years ago to where we are today, the process has become extremely streamlined. And that's because those department heads, they thank them, they thank the supervisors. But I want to thank Supervisor Wagner, who kind of at least kept our committee and the board on track. Ed, thank you very much for your guidance. I know you spent a lot of hours either in the office down there or on the phone, and I greatly appreciate it. Page 20 of your packet, minutes of the Health and Human Services Committee of October 19th. Their minutes of October 28th on 21 and 22. We have the monthly update from the Health Department beginning on page 23, and that runs through page 27. monthly update from the Human Services Department, beginning with Director Brewings on page 28, and that runs through page 35. Go to the Veteran Service Officers, monthly letter comments 36 and 37, 36 and 37. Then minutes of the Wood County Public Safety Committee of October 11th, beginning on 38, and that runs through page 41. We have various humane officer reports beginning on 9/5 and going through 10/2. They're pages 44 to 48, and they'll go September into early October. The monthly report from the Sheriff's Department, which was always long, but as we get into some of the things we're doing now, becomes extremely long. Page 49 through 69. Any questions there? 49 through 69. Page 70 in your packet, the Census Review and Redistricting Committee, their Tuesday, November 2nd meeting. UW Extension's monthly report on 71 through 75. Land and Water Conservation's report, page 76, and it runs through page 82. 76 through 82. Page 82 is a press release, basically. And then we get to page 83, which is the beginning of the Citizens Groundwater Group meeting of Monday, October 18th. And that's on pages 83, 84, and 85. The update from Planning and Zoning, beginning with Director Grudenberg's on page 86. And that goes through page 91, 86 through 91. We have some, some background information under staff report that's going to go along with the resolutions that we're going to have on page 101, but these are updates on some of the rezoning classifications from requests from Grand Rapids, beginning on, like I said, on that page and running all the way through page 101. Does anybody have any questions on the updates, the maps, or anything else that came from Planning and Zoning? All right, that gets us to page 101 and a resolution brought forth by the Seed Committee.
This will be Resolution 21-11-3 to approve several zoning amendments to the Town of Grand Rapids official zoning map. Fiscal note, no cost to Wood County.
A motion by Bride. I have a second by Clendenning. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All right, again, please vote. That resolution passed 18-0. Thank you. We move forward to page 102 in the packet, and this comes forth from the Census Review and Redistricting Committee. It has all the attached maps that go along with this that run all the way through page, I think, 121, I believe. Go ahead, Trent.
Yep, this will be Resolution 21-11-4 to approve the final County Board Supervisory District Boundary Plan. Fiscal note is none.
I have a motion by Clendenning. I have a second by Fire. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Again, please vote. And again, that resolution passed unanimously. All right, moving forward in your packet, page 122, Judicial and Legislative Committee, Tuesday, October 19th. Update from the Child Support Agency, Director Brewings on page 123. And then we have several updates from Supervisor Clendenning.
That's not for me. No, I would just like for Corporation Counsel, with permission from, to have him speak. As it's put to me on the phone, why are you suing the 4-H? Why is Wood County suing the 4-H? And if you could explain that, I'd appreciate it publicly.
Mr. Corporation Counsel, the floor is yours.
I suppose the best answer, Mr. Chairman, wouldn't be because they wouldn't let me sue the Girl Scouts. The reason that we're suing the Meadowbrook 4-H Club is that the club owns real property that it obtained in 1962. It was an old schoolhouse. And the Meadowbrook 4-H Club went defunct. And probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, something along that timeline. And so the schoolhouse just sits there. It's not on the property tax roll because it's an exempt, it's owned by an exempt entity. The 4-H Club probably planned on meeting again in the future, but they never did. So as a result, they never discharged their role as they could have under their constitution to disseminate the property, including rural property, in a proper fashion. Instead, it just sits there. And because of the bylaws that they had, they're not really able to reformulate, because the only members they have to be people who did certain things for the group within the past year. That's nobody. And so consequently, the only way I saw it to work with the 4-H group leader, Ms. Huber, was to go ahead and sue that entity and ask the court to implement what the Constitution for the 4-H, Meadowbrook 4-H Club provided, and that is to turn the property over to the county's 4-H program so they can either use it for 4-H purposes or sell it and then use the funds for 4-H purposes. So basically you're using litigation to accomplish the goals of the 4-H program. Thank you.
Hopefully everybody understands that our core council had several updates this month, beginning on page 124, 125, 126, and 7, and then 28 through 30. And usually it's extremely concise and we get one page. And, there's a lot of briefs and updates this month, and Peter, is that because this is the time we do employee reviews, or I think he saved these in his desk all year to get these out. But these are one of the things that every month I really encourage all of our supervisors to read these. It's one of the places where I definitely learn something every month. The guidance is tremendous, and I appreciate your update though on the 4-H, Peter, as well as the other information you provided. If I move to page 131, I have the update from the Highway Office, from our Highway Commissioner, Roland Hoff, and this reminded me when I got here. Many of our department heads have taken on the responsibility and the opportunity to be heads of their respective professional organizations. And it really helps the county when those people participate in those organizations. They learn a tremendous amount, they bring a tremendous amount of knowledge back to our counties. And I wanted to mention this one specifically because a lot of you out there have done that already, but Roland is going to be, I don't know if the word's installed, enshrined, moved up to president of that Highway Association here very shortly. And Roland, I want to thank you for the time and effort it takes to do that. But we have a lot of department heads who have done the same thing, and it's extremely beneficial. All right, so that's page 131 to 135. Any questions there? From the Parks Department, page 136 and 137. We have minutes of the Property Information Technology Committee from November 1st, pages 138, 39, and 40. We have the monthly update from Information Technology on 141 to 144. And this is probably as good a time as any to mention this. Met with our director, Amy Cow, and Kim McGrath, our HR director. The reason this is probably pertinent right now is a number of you received an email yesterday that appeared to come from me. It obviously didn't come from me. If you hovered over it, you found it came from like mayor0796@gmail.com or something like that. But there's a tremendous amount of liability, there's a tremendous amount of exposure through a number of ways to access our systems. Those of you who were at the county's conference, you saw how quickly that can be done and how thoroughly they can do that. Whether they're spoofing somebody's email, or it's a phishing campaign, or spear phishing, or one of these other ways, they get into our system. Now, Amy has assured me that our supervisors, they keep us in, what's the term? A sandbox or something else where we can't wreck your whole system?
You're not on the county network.
Okay, we're not involved with them, but we are putting together right now we're putting together a policy and kind of a progressive discipline that's going to go along with abuse of that system, or at least failure to comply and to get the education necessarily so we don't have that exposure and that liability. I was recently out in Salt Lake City, and there was one county that had a $40 million ransom request, and it took down somewhere in the neighborhood, I believe they said, it's a big county, 4,000 county computers were gone, wrecked, unusable. So the exposure is huge. We realize that financially and operationally, one of the biggest risks that we have as a county, and we're going to try to tighten up that cybersecurity aspect. So we're working on that right now, and some of that will be coming out in policy. That covered, Amy? Is there anything you want to add? You might want to right now.
No, I think it's just continued support.
Why don't you go to a microphone if you got a sec?
I think a lot of it's just continued support.
Why don't you turn the microphone on? These IT people.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah,
There you go.
I think a lot of it's just we have a lot of continued support from our department heads regarding training. So I know that there's training that's going out now in phishing. In regards to the phishing email that went out that looked like it came from Lance. You know, IT takes those serious. We appreciate all the people that did report that as phishing, so we are looking into that. We do know 4 people responded to that email, so I'll be following up with those 4 people specifically later, just to provide more training on what to look for and why that was not a legitimate email coming from Lance. So we really pay attention to that. Fortunately, the 4 people that responded to that email, we did have a filter in place that caught that response, so that response never went out from our email system, which is good, but we still want to continue to educate. So we'll be continuing to do a lot more on that.
Thanks, Amy. You know, this is a time of year where there's probably more vulnerability than almost any time. I mean, you'll see something, for instance, that appears to be from, I probably shouldn't name this, a Best Buy or a Home Depot or some other large company that says your extended warranty is about to expire or something to that effect. And you very well may have a warranty and a product you purchased from those companies, and it looks legit. And it isn't. And for instance, those should never be coming to a work email. You shouldn't have been using your work email to respond to them in the first place. That's probably your first clue. How would they ever have gotten into this system? So more so than ever at any time of the year, this is probably when we're most vulnerable. So be vigilant. Thank you, Amy. All right, moving forward, letter of comments from Ruben Van Tassel, our facilities manager, on 145 and 146. And that brings me to the resolution on page 147.
This will be Resolution 21-11-5. To authorize staff to negotiate for the acquisition of real property adjacent to property already owned by the county, which real property would improve the functioning of the new jail. Final approval of any negotiations would require a resolution passed by the county board. Fiscal note, none. The authority being conveyed by this resolution is limited to negotiations.
A motion by Clendenning, a second by Bry. Is there any discussion on the resolution? Any discussion? Please vote. And that resolution passed 16-2. 16-2. All right, moving on to the packet, page 148, Aging Disability Resource Center. Their minutes from Thursday, July 8th, on 148 through 150. And there's a significant amount of minutes in there from the ADRC. There are minutes from August 12th on 151 to 153. They have minutes from September 9th on 154, 5, and 6. Additional minutes from July 8th, 157 to 162. Those are basically Finance Committee meeting minutes from various dates there. Anybody have any questions on the ADRC minutes? Any questions? All right, South Central Library System Board of Trustees, 163, 164, and 165. And then we have minutes of the Jail Construction Committee. Any questions there? That's page 166 and 167. That takes me through the packet, but we do have a special order of business, an update on that from Sheriff Becker and his team. Sean, you ready? Sure. Okay.
Well, good morning, and thanks for the opportunity for us to present at least an update where we're at with some of the most recent renderings of the new facility. First, I want to thank all of you for the continued support for the project. I know it's been a long road, and we appreciate everything that you have done as county board members to move this project along. It's come together really well. The most recent thing that came up for us that made a really big difference in this project was the ability to move the transformers that are located to the south of the courthouse. That gave us the opportunity to put the sheriff's department in between the courthouse and the new jail. So there's kind of a buffer there as people will enter into the new facility. So if you look at the renderings of what you're seeing right now, the new jail will be to the south of the kind of the glass area, which will be the new entrance to the courthouse, to the entire facility. So that's where we're projecting the new security checkpoint to be moved to. So people, whether it's employees or the public, will be able to enter that area and then go through the screening process. If they want to go to the sheriff's department or the jail, they obviously go to the south. If they want to go to the courthouse, definitely go to the north. There'll be new elevators, stairs right in close proximity to that area. Again, this is it's still developing, but actually the renderings are looking really nice. We'll keep scrolling through those. The goal is to obviously have the buildings match as much as possible, but I think with having that buffer between both buildings, the sheriff's department there with plenty of glass will look very nice. I really think it's coming. We think it's coming really, together well. And again, I want to thank our team too, not just the county board supervisors, but Jason, Peter, Ruben, and our staff and our ad hoc committee as we continue to move forward with this process. And also the city of Wisconsin Rapids, the Common Council, the support moving forward with the vacation of Avon Street and the rezoning. Things have been going well so far. We should find out probably around sometime in December final approval of that process. What you're looking at now is the east side of the building, the rear of the building. That's where the Sally Port was moved. Initially, we projected or proposed the Sally Port to be on the west side of the building, and it just wasn't fitting there. So with that, again, the availability of moving those transformers and the power to the back side of the building being on the east side really opened up a lot of opportunities for us. So the Sally Port will go on that side, east side of the building. There'll be a projected underground parking area to the north of the Sally Port, northwest of the Sally Port in that area. And that's about it if you want to keep scrolling. That's just a nice overview of the whole project. But again, pretty preliminary right now. What we've been doing recently is looking at the inside of the building, how things are going to fit. The jail portion's coming together really well. It's almost pretty much done. The sheriff's department in that building in between both the jail and courthouse. Just a few minor changes that we've been coming up with. We're looking at a county board room about the size of this room on the third floor of where the sheriff's department is. So something similar to this size and with another meeting room that I would think would be like 114 or 115 downstairs. So you can have other meetings down there for committees. So that'll be, I believe, very nice to have separate from the courtrooms. So that's where we're at right now. Again, things have been coming together really well with our team. Again, thanking Peter, Jason, Ruben, our staff, Venture, and the Samuels group have all been working very well together and really making a team approach. All suggestions have been, factored in or at least considered, and things have been looking really well. Yeah, I don't hear any questions. All right, thank you.
I had a.
You don't want to answer questions? Go ahead.
All due respect, I was kidding.
That's fine. That's fine, with all due respect to you too. So I have a question about entrance. So there's the courthouse, the current courthouse. So it'll be clear in that building there, in between there, that that's the entrance for the sheriff's department and the jail. But if someone were to enter the courthouse, is there a way for them to be directed to your department without having to go outside and then back into that entrance?
We're projecting that area to be the entrance for the whole facility.
Oh, so the entrance into the courthouse will not be there anymore?
Correct, that'll be the security checkpoint will be coming into technically the sheriff's department, right? You'll go into through the security screening and then be directed to whatever part of the courthouse or to the sheriff's department, jail visitation, wherever that may be.
Thank you, that
You're welcome.
answered my question.
Supervisor Clendenning?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I heard that the present entrance to the courthouse will be only an exit.
Might be, we're still
Oh, okay.
planning that, but right now, we're moving forward towards having that new area being the entrance, and we could still utilize, the exit point of the current area right now, but we're still working through that right now.
And I also heard that across the street, where the old health department used to be, that could be a purchase parking area.
So that's what's part of the resolution that passed, is getting the opportunity to work with the city or talk with the city about an opportunity of purchasing that property.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions at all? Okay, well, again, thank you for the time to present the update where we're at. Again, things are going really well in our opinion, and appreciate all the input and appreciate the ad hoc committee working with us. Have a good day.
Sure. Ruben has some stuff here. I was a little concerned. He said, I have a list of things here that you were going to do, meeting the board, maybe I remember 10 years ago or so. And I said, you cannot hold that against me. He said, I have it in writing. He said, actually, we did most of them. I said, well, then you can use it.
That's an invitation, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I'll be glad to share this. Many of you here will recall a Space Needs Assessment Committee from the year 2012, so nearly 10 years ago. Some of our county board supervisors here participated in that. Some of our staff that's here participated in that. So I went through that a little bit recently, and I think it was encouraging to see that nearly 10 years ago, this group addressed many needs that we had. And of those addressed, there were significant or other various improvements to spaces for dispatch, for our data center, for our IT department, for improved security, for emergency management, for our district attorney, talking about an additional court and moving clerk courts, human services and health department, some mechanical and electrical upgrades, and improvements to our restrooms for accessibility. So most of the things identified in this have either been completed or substantially improved. Some of the things that remain in this report that need to be addressed according to what was identified at that time, improved access for our courthouse. So we're talking about this new shared entry. And again, I see this project as a great opportunity to address another significant need that was looked at 10 years ago, and a second elevator. So that's a big part of this as well. If we relocate our new main entrance to this addition, the way that you guys saw on the screen, that gives us a second elevator accessible to the public and others in the building for staff. So coming up in a few months, we have an upgrade to our existing elevator in the courthouse. It's going to be very disruptive. We're going to have almost 3 months of time that there is no elevator to service our courthouse. So again, this project is meeting a lot of needs. We've met a lot of them. In the meantime, a lot of good stuff happening. And as always, if there's questions about any of this, join us at our public meetings. Stop in, give me a call. Lots of good stuff happening. Thank you.
I think Supervisor Rosa, you might have chaired that.
I did.
Did you not?
Yeah, I was going to say, why don't you read that list of who was on that committee? I can't even remember who was on.
Committee members, we had Supervisor Donna Roser, Chair, Supervisor Al Bry, Jason Gruber, Planner from Records, Land Records that is, Peter Manley from the Extension Office, and Human Services Director Kathy Redder.
Yeah, so sometimes government gets nothing done, other times we get it done, and sometimes it happens so seamlessly you didn't even remember that it happened. But we are moving forward, and I thank you, Ruben, for your guidance on those projects. All right, I've got really not a lot other than to say that our next meeting is December 21st, and that's still going to be here, correct, Trent? Yes, no, maybe so?
Ruben? Next meeting here, or might we be in Rapids at City Hall?
Early December,
No, 21st.
borderline, most likely here. That's the best I can do.
Watch your agendas.
Yeah, make sure the email comes directly from Trent. And then the last thing I mentioned this before, Wood County has a tremendous Crime Stoppers program. We still are looking for some additional board members. So if you know somebody out there in the community who might be interested, and I did have a number of them contact me when we had an event the other day, one of our big fundraisers of the year, who had expressed interest, but still looking for that list of candidates. Anything else? I don't see anybody want anything. All right, we will declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.